A go-go, and here we are with round 3 of the Greenskins. We have the forces of Skarsnik versus Grimgor Ironhide, the Black Orc leader of the Greenskins himself. Skarsnik's bringing a relatively mixed force. He's got himself some Orc boys, a couple of Night Goblin fanatic archers, some Forest Goblin Spider Rider archers, more boys, which is pretty good, a Goblin Big Boss, some standard goblins, an Orc Boar chariots, some Night Goblin fanatics, an Orc Boar boy Biggins, and a Snotling pump wagon alongside Skarsnik himself with his pet squig. Over on the other side of Grimgor's forces, not as much intel at the moment, but his side is pretty stacked. He's bringing some Forest Goblin Spider Riders himself, some Orc Biggins, a couple of units of Night Goblin archers as well, some Savage Orcs, which we've seen have been very effective in this, a unit of River Trolls, which I'm expecting great things from during the battle. He's also bringing his own Goblin Big Boss alongside Grimgor himself. And over on his left flank, there's some Goblin Wolf Riders, Orc Boar boy Biggins, another unit of Night Goblins. And I believe there are some pump wagons. Yep, there's some pump wagons there with flappers, which honestly I think are probably one of the worst units for the Greenskins roster. Now, I've jumped ahead a little bit. As you can see, this recording started at 2 minutes 30, mainly because the Orcs, for some reason, the Greenskins, have a really tough time navigating this hill. I don't know why it takes them so long to get up here. And honestly, if Grimgor had any kind of artillery like Azag did in one of the previous rounds, most of this force would have been green smush on the floor. There wouldn't really have been much left afterwards. But you've got to admire Skarsnik's colour schemes here. Blue and yellow, an unusual one. Maybe he's a Swedish goblin. I don't know. This, I suppose, would be Varak's force of choice. When Immortal Empires comes out for Total War 3, he'll probably want to hop in on that, get himself some Bork Orc. As we see the fast movers there of Skarsnik going for the flanking maneuver. We'll see how that works out for them over there. He's got his own Snotling pump wagons just holding up there with the rest of his front line. Looks like both sides are just lining up now. Grimgor isn't phased by the looks of it. He's ready for this. It looks like Skarsnik's force definitely outnumbers the forces of Grimgor. There's a good chance here he's going to get surrounded, and the first shots I think are going. Yep, there they come from the Forest Goblin Spider Rider archers. Are going to start laying into the Orc Biggins. They do have heavy armor though, so they can probably take a few of these hits before they suffer any real casualties. I'm surprised the Orc Boar boys there though on the flank of Grimgor's forces aren't doing anything, because I think Skarsnik's own Boar boys are going to make that decision for him. And they are going to clash. Oh no, it looks like Grimgor's force is running. Nope, they're turning around, and, well, it's hot pig on Orc action there. Goblin Big Boss for Grimgor gets stuck in there with the Orc boys. We've got Skarsnik's Goblin Big Boss on his giant spider. He's rushing in there into the Savage Orcs. He's run straight into Grimgor. I don't know if that's a good idea. And, oh, big old hit with his axe there. Over on the far flank, we've got a little bit of chaos going as the Orc Boys' chariots probably got hit by a few of those Night Goblin fanatics. Not quite sure how many of them would have actually been hit. It looks like we've got more dead goblins over here than we have dead orcs on chariots. Over on the side, the Goblin Wolf Riders are getting stuck in against the goblins, but the River Trolls are having a whale of a time. Exactly what I thought they'd do. Vomiting on their opponents, hitting them with cool and very basic looking axes, but very effective nonetheless. River Trolls far more effective than standard trolls, especially now that Grimgor has activated the Wah. All of his units getting a huge buff there in armor piercing damage, attack speed, all the rest of it, basic weapon attack. Orc boys are probably going to have a rough time fighting against Orc Boar boy Biggins. Straight up, we do have some, the Savage Orcs do appear to be breaking. Yep, they are fleeing. That is the first unit to flee for Grimgor's forces, from what I can tell. Meanwhile, we've got Grimgor, nary a scratch on him as he's tearing into some of Skarsnik's own Orc boys. A lot of Skarsnik's forces are actually in retreat at this point. Skarsnik himself hasn't yet committed anything to the battle, but it looks like he might. Yep, he's going to get stuck in with the River Trolls. Not sure how smart a choice this is for the as it's considered halberd infantry. He's a bit of a mishmash, really. He's got a few abilities, a few tricks up his little green sleeves. A little bit of a ranged skirmish going on over there on the right flank. Still harassing those Orc Biggins. Yeah, they have taken some casualties. Probably from the range fire. We've got some Snotling pump wagons. There's a spell going out there. I'm not quite sure which one it was. It was Slippery, increased speed and melee defense there, but it's a little too late for those. For the Goblin Big Boss, who is definitely fleeing, and his spider has got the speed to get him out. Look at him completely outrunning all of the Orcs as he leaves them behind. As the Swedish Orcs here all just hightailing out of there, and with the buff on them, they are running very quickly. If anything else, Skarsnik has ensured that a number of his fleeing troops are definitely going to get away. But I'm not quite sure whether that was his intent. The remainder of his troops are trying to rally or continue the fight. The Goblins there that Grimgor just towers over these Goblins. As they'll get smashed away. Let's see if we can catch one of those shots in slow motion next time. Oh, the big wind up, and oh, there we go. Goblins in every direction, flying away. Beautiful animation there. Grimgor's just such a powerhouse as an Orc war boss. And it's noticeable as the River Trolls just appear to just be taking turns smacking Skarsnik over the head in some kind of weird gang initiation rituals. They just keep smacking him repeatedly over the head with these cudgels, vomiting on him at the same time. His pet squig doing its best to try and nibble at a couple of these trolls, but if anyone knows anything about trolls, they do have an ability to regenerate their hit points, which makes trolls rather difficult to kill. Meanwhile, some Forest Goblin Spider Riders, who themselves have got a few little bonuses on them, buffs here and there, but again, all of these buffs are coming in at a time where most of his troops are just on the brink of collapse. They're going to rout, they're not going to really be able to do much with the buffs they've been given. A few of Skarsnik's forces, mostly the ranged ones, are capable of being able to do a little bit of damage. We see a couple of Orc Biggins, getting downed by the crude arrows fired by the Night Goblins, but it's not really going to mean much, and they're not going to be able to outrun any of the Boar Boys, that's for sure. I've got a feeling that Jeff is probably on the cusp of calling this battle. A somewhat one-sided affair. There's a fair amount, definitely more blue and yellow than red and green down there, that's for sure. It's not to say that a lot of Greenskins didn't die this day during the battle. You can see the Night Goblins here clearly just looking for the best loot. You know, pick up some scrap there, improve their weapons, improve their armor. Skarsnik still fighting. A couple of units here and there making their way back into the fight. Skarsnik may have made the Night Goblins flee, but it's not really going to mean much. He himself has been hit with the debuff. They need stabbing. Popular call there for Goblins, really. Oh, and it looks like Skarsnik is either dead or he's fleeing. I believe he's fleeing. Yep, he's run. I think that's it. Yep, there we go. A valiant defeat is how Jeff the Ref will call it, but we all know what it really was, which was an absolutely crushing victory for Grimgor Ironhide. And that means that the finale of the Greenskins will see Azag the Slaughterer taking on Grimgor Ironhide. We'll see how that goes tomorrow. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.